Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Meet the Plug. Of course, this is the Media Pass. I go by the name of Young Lisa, and I am super excited because I have the one and only Nucci Reyo, aka Nucci Reyo, the King's Kid, hanging out
Yeah,
with me today. I so thank you for your time. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Definitely, just taking it one day at a time.
You know it, you know it. So how has life been since COVID and all that kind of good thing has hit us? How's that? How have you had to transition, I should say, with
You
this?
know what's so interesting about that is that I realized that helped me realize that like I'm such a loner and I'm creative, right? So I isolate a lot. When I need more inspiration, I might have a different experience, but for the most part, I realized, wow, I was already living this quarantine lifestyle,
That's
right?
that sound like me.
Yeah, I'm like, I already was spending so much time alone. So, and a lot of what I do music wise, like scoring and then of course creating, I was doing from home anyway. So it really wasn't a hard
It was
transition for
perfect,
me.
huh?
It's excellent because now I have a reason to tell people they can't come over. It's just wonderful.
I see. We winning. The introverts in us are winning right now. I'm telling you. I feel
Yes.
the exact
Yeah.
same way. So did you kind of work on your project this far by faith during quarantine, or is this something you already had kind of been working on
I
for a while?
I did. I worked on a lot of it during quarantine. Some of it I had the concepts. I thought of the concept beforehand, and
Okay.
I just go around ideas, little notes in my phone and stuff. But I decided, since I am, pretty much locked down, let's get this done. Let's be productive.
That's so dope. That's so dope. So what's your thought process going into every project you're doing? Is it like maybe being more intentional on this side with topics that you're going to discuss, or especially with you having like Jim Jones hosting this project, that seemed pretty intentional. Also, what you
Oh,
working
yeah.
with the heat makers, you know what I mean? So explain to everybody what you were going through mapping this out.
Pretty much is my intent is always originality, right? It's always to come with something fresh and different than what's already going on.
Mhm.
Even though that's a very easy route, a very safe route. I come from an era where, like, if you sounded like somebody else, you couldn't even get the mic at the party.
That
You know
part.
what So yeah, so even though I was real young, right, in the late '80s, just trying to get into this culture,
Yeah.
um, I stand by those standards, right? So my first thought is, what can I do original? And so if you stick to purpose and passion, that's easy. You know what I mean? If you're not in it for money or in it for fame or trying to be trendy, that's easy because it's like, and if you're honest, right?
Yeah.
This is one of my most honest projects. Just coming from a standpoint of, I realized I looked around, just looking at Facebook and riding through certain cities where I'm from and the surrounding cities, a lot of the cats that are like gang leaders, kingpins, ex-kingpins, just coming home after 20 years in jail. I'm like, wow, like, where do I know them from, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of them, we used to like sing in the choir together.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So
Crazy.
like, yeah, so when I looked around and I said, as kids, we were singing in the choir together. And as adults, this is where y'all are in life.
Mm, mm.
Oh, and a lot, and the ones who are still alive, right? Because some
Yeah.
of even the girls that sung in the choir with us are literally, I touched on that on a project, are literally, you know what I mean, no longer here. So I was like, how can I reach them with
Mm.
this positive message and this message of life? You know what I mean? Like, how can I get it to them? And I just thought, like, look, you know what? I'm gonna collab with whoever they listening to.
That's
You know
so
what I mean?
yeah.
All stuff is positive. They might not be tuning into all that because that's just not their reality,
Mm.
right? So how do I mesh the two worlds and kind of bridge the gap? So I realized, oh, okay, the stuff y'all ride around blasting, I'm gonna collab with those people and get this message to y'all. So when I explain this concept to like Jim Jones, his manager, heat makers, different people, I don't know if they got it totally at first, but when I did kick it with them, and as you realize from the voice notes on there, this is the same reality for Jim Jones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's
I would say like traveling through this project and listening to the messages in the project. I'm gonna tell you personally. My favorite joint, I want to say, is it Pass Me Not? So
mm-hmm.
Pass Me Not is currently what I'm rocking with right now.
That's
Now,
what's up.
as I travel through this project and I'm listening, it sounds sonically like what we normally hear in hip hop. but then the messages that you infuse with the production and the whole project, it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting this food for my soul, but it's not hard to digest. And I think you did a really, really good job on a lot of the tracks. Just transitioning. Do you have a favorite record on this, or is the whole project like your favorite?
This is the first time I got this question. Wow.
I stumped you. We working with some here.
Big time. If I had to choose, I would have to say Overflow.
Okay.
Because, pardon me, I've been wanting to work with heat makers for the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, they're
right.
crazy.
So finally being able to come together on a concept that challenge him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Arsonist did not know this is what I was going to do to the beat or where I was going with this.
Okay.
Right. And I've been wanting to work with them for because it's just that authentic New York City sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is that East Coast. And I was just like, yo, this is the perfect time. So that would have to be my favorite one. And it's a close tie with Pass Me Not, but like the whole project, just every track hits home in such a different but such genuine and authentic way. And I think that's why people are just like really vibing with it, you know?
I would have to agree. And you mentioned this before we started the interview, but I thought it was super dope. Now, not only I'm taking and listening to this album, but then I'm doing my research, you know, and like really, really trying to dive into who you are as a person, you know what I'm saying? Who you are as an artist and an individual that I can attach with. And I see GODIFY. And I get to looking at GODIFY and I'm like, wow, like this service that you're providing is crazy. Can you explain to people watching right now what GODIFY is and what's your goals with it?
Yeah, so GODIFY in a nutshell is just like Spotify, but all Christian content, all inspirational content, all clean content, all positive content, all and only, right? So the podcast is faith-based, all the music is that. So my goal was just to, when I first transitioned from doing secular music to doing inspirational, whatever people want to call it, right? Because my stuff rocks in any crowd, just to be honest. But you know what I mean? If we have to pick a genre, you know, for publishing reasons, let's say, you know, inspirational, right? There was no dedicated outlet. And I'm a businessman, you know, like almost first. You know what I'm saying? Like people tell, like, I've been a businessman. So, like a lot of my childhood friends say I was like 10 years old with a 10-year plan. You know what I mean? They like joke about it all the time. Yeah, they're like, you were never a kid. Yeah, like I was the type of person who, before I just started stashing the newspapers, right? I had a newspaper route and I hired people to do my route for me.
Oh yeah, you
right?
I see you.
You know what I'm saying? I was like 11, 12 years old. Like, you know, they paying me this, I'll pay you this much to get it done. You know what I'm saying? So like my friends just like, who are you? You know what I mean? So I'm always looking for that kind of opportunity. I'm just innovative in that way. And I wanted to get into the tech space anyway, right? When you leave secular music, there's a big difference in income. So I'm like, I need investments and I need something else going. And so as I moved into this inspirational space, I wanted to create the platform because it didn't exist. Everybody else has a dedicated, you know, this, that, and the third. And so I just started, you know, flirting with the concept. And it really took me like 10 years. When I thought of this, there was no Apple Music. There was no title. Spotify was just getting started. And Pandora was, you know, doing what they do. So my goal is really just to be a one-stop shop for that kind of content. You know what I mean? And where it's safe. You know what I mean? Where, right, if you hand your child a phone to listen to Spotify, Apple Music, any of them, they might come across some content you don't want them to hear.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
You know, so just thinking about the next generation, you know, I wanted to create a safe space for them too. So we got like the kid zone on there where it's all positive cartoons for children. Because everybody don't want their children watching cartoons with witches and warlocks and magic and, you know what I mean?
That part, yeah.
So I just wanted to create that kind of space. And so we launched the app globally. It's in every country, every continent, and it's doing real well.
Congratulations, by the way. Do you feel like transitioning to the tech space was a little bit more difficult than when you first got into the game and transitioning from, you know, secular to the inspirational side? Like, which one do you think is more
Yeah,
difficult?
slightly, because there's a little bit of politics in it, right? So Apple gave us a hard time, Android gave us a hard time. A lot of the gospel labels, the major ones, gave us a hard time. Some of them still try to give us a hard time. But really, it's to create a platform for a lot of indie artists,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
They get blocked out the game. There's too many gatekeepers, right? So if you look at gospel music, when it comes to like Stellar Awards, the same people win every year.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple people they let in who are signed to those majors, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my thing is, I wasn't relying on the majors coming into this. So when they tried to be difficult and political, I said, okay, I'm used to an uphill climb.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? I'm from Jersey, and honestly, you can name, it only takes two hands to name all the artists that made any major waves from Jersey,
Yeah.
because they try to blackball us and block us out, you know, because a lot of the executives would be from New York, right? So if I'm coming up in there playing a demo, they'd rather sign somebody from Brooklyn. They'd rather sign somebody from Queens. They'd rather grab somebody from Harlem. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
I'm
man.
used to swimming upstream.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah.
difficult, and it still is. We only been active since we launched Christmas Eve 2019.
Nice. So you
So
coming up on that 1 year.
yeah,
That's a victory to celebrate for sure.
thank you. You got to
Absolutely.
celebrate the small ones, right? That's a
Man,
fact.
got to. So what keeps you pushing? Because you've been in the game for a long time. Like you've
Yeah.
been doing your thing. You've written for some of the dopest artists and icons. You know what I mean? So what really keeps you motivated every day to, like, you know, I'm gonna get back in the studio and I'm gonna drop me something. You know, like what does that for you?
Well, the motivation has changed, right? Originally, it was status and money,
Yeah.
and then you know, as I realized there's a purpose to the music that I'm doing, you know, to just reach people and just give them hope. Right now, it's that, right, and
Mm-hmm.
that keeps me going, because if that's my focus, then yeah, I want to do 1 billion streams. I want to
Yeah.
make $1 billion, but if that's not the foundation, I can get up and keep going and have hope myself. Because if one person gets the message I got, then
Yeah.
I feel accomplished and fulfilled. And I get the testimonies in the comments every day. People hit me up. Yo, one guy just hit me like, yo, I got past me now. This is super thug, right?
Okay.
When he hit me up, even when I seen a message from him, I'm like, what does this cat want? You know what I mean? And he's like, yo, I got past me not on repeat. And I'm just crying like, yo, I can't even believe like you hit such home with this. And I get those kind of messages constantly, every hour. And that's what keeps me going.
That's super dope. So, and again, this is your latest release here, but is there anybody else like right now that you think, my next project, I want to work with them? Is it anybody on your radar? And it could be indie, it could be somebody, you know, that's coming up. Who would that be?
I want to work with Fat Joe.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I want to work with Styles P. Yeah, just where I'm from, these are such icons in business
Mm-hmm.
and music, and I know they'll be able to relate to what I'm trying to do. You know
That's
what I'm saying?
important.
And I know, yeah, they have the ear of those who I'm trying to reach. You know what I mean? It's like we're called to be fishers of men, and what makes a good fisherman is knowing how to disguise the hook. You know what I mean? Knowing how to use the proper bait.
I
And
love it.
so that's my focus. You feel me?
Yeah,
But
I love
I
it.
gotta
I
get
love
with
it.
Fat Joe. I gotta get with Fat Joe. It gotta
Hey,
happen.
Joe's a legend.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because what's interesting for me, I've lived in the South for a long time. I'm back in the Midwest, but I've never been to New Jersey. So knowing where you come from, knowing all the grind you put in for Jersey, how is the scene now? Do you foresee like there being another string of artists that could come up because we have so much control over our narrative? Do you think that's a possibility? And if
Yeah.
so, is there anybody on your radar?
Yeah, because you know what? It takes unity, right? And it doesn't take everybody to be unified, but at least a big enough crew that can make waves to be unified.
Right.
So
Okay.
when you see what Queen Latifah and them did with the Flavor Unit, they were unified, right? They're not all from the same block, but it was just popping back there. You had Lords of the Underground, you had Redman, you had
Mhm.
Queen Latifah, you had Naughty by Nature, you had Apache. They was clicked up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it takes unity. Jersey really lacks unity ever since then. The younger crowd doesn't have as much unity, but there's enough of them unified where if they understood that it's power in numbers, it could get there. But I
Okay.
think right now, what Drake did, right, as coming in the game, a guy comes from Toronto, but moves to Houston, moves to Florida. He's in New York for a while. He's moving around to have a career.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it did with him and cats like J. Cole, even, it made it so that geographic location does not matter.
That is a man. You just
You know what I
said
mean?
something right there. You said
Yeah.
something right there.
Back in the day, you had to be from somewhere, and it had to be somewhere we heard of.
Facts.
Right? Now, it doesn't matter. Half of these cats is from the middle of nowhere. You know, cats like Little Dicky, and you got all kind of cats. If you got a computer and your music is dope and you can find your crowd, it don't matter no more.
Yep.
So when it comes to just rocking, like a lot of the cats that's popping that's from Jersey, people don't even know they from Jersey because that just don't matter no more. Even like a cat like Skinny from the Nine, I see him doing his thing. Even Fetty Wap. Yeah, he from Jersey.
Look at that.
Yeah, Fetty Wap is from Jersey. Yeah, you know, it just don't matter no more where you from. Man, you know, you your thing.
That's gems. So do you now with the, and I'm gonna kind of move back and forth because I really want people to understand how, you know, ahead you are with the business side, because you've mentioned also like scoring and things like that. So can you give us an idea, because a lot of people that'll watch this interview, they'll be, you know, up and coming rappers and things like that, and they're like, I gotta get in the studio, I gotta make a hit, when really we're at the point where artists are diversifying their portfolios in a way to, you know, stay afloat financially or to make millions. So how did you get into that process, and what's that like for you?
Yeah, that's really fun. Actually, my first record deal, I was signed to MCA Records, and MCA and Universal were like sister companies or something. Universal might have owned MCA. So they were working on Two Could Play That Game soundtrack.
Okay.
And I found out what office that was kind of happening out of. It was like, I don't know, maybe like the 8th floor. And our offices in MCA was like on the 7th floor. Mm-hmm. So I just got off the elevator one day and was like, hey, listen, I want to do some scoring. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And so they was like, look, the people that's doing the score, you can go in the studio with them. We'll invite you to the sessions and stuff because you are under this MCA umbrella. Mm-hmm. But as far as putting you in charge of a whole scoring of a movie, like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, okay.
So I said, cool. So I would go to the sessions and basically take over. You know, like, that don't fit there. This don't fit there. Like, a lot of people that get the musical directing job for these movies don't know what the heck they're talking. They don't even know about the culture they're trying to connect with. They're researching as they go along. They're guessing.
Yep.
You know, so I was like, nah, I'm invading. So I did so good with that, you know, the guy who was music director and stuff was basically like, look, you know, it's basically his soundtrack. Like, I was just calling a lot of shots with it. And so from there, you know, I was able to get some more calls and just continue. And then I did some plays too. That's really the funnest, because then people experience the music live.
Okay.
You know, I did like some major plays where I did the music for that as well. And my next focus is to do a soundtrack where the whole soundtrack is my music.
Man,
you know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like write for each scene and kind of compose it all together and make it just sound seamless, kind of like that Marvin Gaye What's Going On album. That's the most seamless music project you could ever.
That's the classic right there. That's the epitome of all classics, in my opinion.
Exactly. I'd have to agree. So yeah, that's how I got into it. You know, I'm just the type of person where a no does not discourage me. So I'll try, you know, to get in any kind of situation. So when I saw, you know, okay, they're doing movies out of this building. Well, let me go talk to them. And that's pretty much
really
it.
all it took. That is, and I hope that anybody watching this will see that that's really all it takes, is just asserting yourself, having the confidence to just say, hey, where can I fit in? And then once you in there, like you said, you asserted yourself. So I love it. I guess I do want to transition before we kind of close out, because looking at, you know, with your project This Far by Faith, the messages that you send and the weight of the world and the climate of society right now, what advice would you give to people who are struggling to deal with, you know, some of the injustice that we keep seeing? Because that could take a toll on us mentally if we're digesting all this information every day, what advice would you give to people right now, especially with, say, for instance, the Breonna Taylor, situation?
Yeah, and it does take a toll. I would say pretty much that we just don't stop fighting, right? Martin Luther King and those who came before us and kind of laid the path for us. I say you got to vote. You know what I mean? Got to get educated. Like, people died for us to vote. So whether you believe your vote counts or not or changes nothing, they probably knew something we don't know. That's even right. Though it could at some time, because they didn't die for a system that just doesn't work at all. Right? Got to get rid of the myths, and we got to just not give up the fight. We got to realize that we're unified, that we got people in every state, even people in other countries that rock with us, they're supporting us, they're behind us, and we got to keep going, and we'll get there. See, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's about finishing,
I love it.
We just got to keep going. You know what I mean? It could get tough, though, when you see more people who look like you getting killed by police and no justice. It's hard. But, we just got to unify and keep going. And I think one way we could be an example is we could stop going at each other's heads. You know what I mean? I would like to see that happen, So let's focus on that. Let's focus on also putting an end to black on black crime. And I think we'll be in a better position as we, progress throughout the years.
I love it. Look, I have gotten so inspired throughout this conversation we had. But I do want to make sure before we get up out of here, for anybody that's watching, how can they find your music, find you on social websites? Like, give us all the rundown so that we can stay connected.
Yeah. So you could go to ilovethekingskid.com. Everything is there. It's at Nucci_Reyo on Instagram and Twitter. And that's NUCCI_REYO, and everybody just holler at me.
Get at you. And then, if somebody wanted to get with you with features, that's no problem either, right?
No, it's not. You could DM me or you can hit me up on ilovethekingskid.com. Let's do it.
I love it. And don't forget, y'all, GODIFY. You have got to, for all my people out here, and especially some of the artists that are particular in that genre or, more inspirational content, please, please reach out to Nucci and get, see about getting your content on there. Cause that, to me, that just I was like, we need that. We need that. That is key.
Very word up.
That's key. So I just want to thank you again for your time. Anything else you want everybody to know before we close out?
That's it. You touched on it. Just go to that app store, download GODIFY right now. And if you're an artist, you want to send music, it's info@godifystreams.com and we'll get it up there.
I love it. Well, look, anytime you got something, let me know. We're going to support you 1,000% all the way to the top. So keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
All right. You have a good one. Thank you.
By the hustlers on the corners in the mornings, in the hoods full of street athletes and rap performers. When he passed by the police, harassing, pull up on us, made the block hot as saunas. Till this day I still got warrants. When he passed by the pimps with the hoes on his strobe, all those bright clothes and ice froze in they gold. When he passed by the men who fixed them, hoes in the road, honest living, but he's sinning and it shows in his soul. When he passed by the stripper and she goes down a pole, she climbed to the top, dropped down, made it roll. When her uncle first touched her, she was 7 years old. Now she's living by the code, the story's never been told. I believe that if we all sung together, we could probably reach heaven with this song. I believe that we should all sing together on behalf of the sinners. Sing along, my Lord, it goes. Savior, Savior.